Have you ever looked at a paper pumpkin card base and wondered how many projects do you think I could create from this one card base? Well, today we're putting that idea to the test using the Lakeside Retreat kit. I'll be taking and transforming a single card base into three different fun fold cards. We'll create an accordion style or double Z fold, I think it's called, card, a vertical standing card, and I'm even going to show you some sneak peeks of a third variation that will be coming later in an upcoming showcase video. Now, enough of my chatting, let's get to crafting. Hi, it's Teresa. Welcome back to my channel. I want to thank you so much for being here today. The first step is cutting apart the original card base. This simple cutting idea is what I've named a one-sheet wonder from a card base design. This actually allows us to take advantage of each of the sides of the card base and turn them into three completely different projects, or in this case, fun fold cards. Now, in the description box below, I've added a template showing you the cuts on this card base, but we will talk through them a bit here. Full disclaimer though, I did make a few changes. If you've been watching my channel, you know I changed my mind quite a bit. So I've changed this a couple times, but we will walk through each of the actual card base cuts throughout the designs. From the left to the right, you'll start with 1-inch cuts on that green plaid. You'll do two 1-inch cuts. Then you'll actually cut that remaining part of the plaid to 2 3/8, which it's just a tad over into the scenic card base, but we will cut that down later. Now, looking at the scenic piece, you'll cut a 1-inch piece off the right-hand side of the scene, which leaves you with a 3-inch piece, which is 3 by 5.5. You'll rotate that scenic piece and you'll cut it at 3 inches. So you'd have a 3 by 3 there and a 2 by 2.5. Now, that was quite a bit, I know, but the purpose for some of these cuts is to take advantage of that scenic design and get as much as we can out of this card base. Our first project, card number 1, is an accordion style or double Z fold card. I'm not really sure what the true name of it is, but it's a great design because it showcases multiple panels. One of my favorite things about this is it looks complicated, but it comes together surprisingly easily. Now let's create the card base. We'll take a 5.5 by 11-inch piece of cardstock. In this case, we're using Old Olive. And we'll score that piece on the 11-inch side at 4.25, 5.5, and 6 3/4. Now, to put this card together, the easiest way that I can think of to explain this is remember right, left, right for the folds. You'll place your right hand on the right side. With your left hand, you're going to fold on that crease to the right. Then for the next crease, you're going to fold it to the left. And then the last score line that you'll be folding will be back again to the right. Now, let's talk a little bit about the focal point and how we want it to stand out. Before we go there, though, I made the decision based on that particular idea that I wanted that focal point to stand out, that I'm going to do a diagonal card on the front of this card. Yes, I'm an overthinker. If you've been watching me, I'm guilty as charged. So I thought we need to make that stand out. Let's do a diagonal card. Next, overthinking process here is I thought, well, now we want that scene to stand out a little bit more. Now you'll start seeing some of the changes I've made. So I took the scene and the die cuts. I want them to be my focal point going across that diagonal. And I brought in some black cardstock and I'll cut that scenic piece down to 1 by 3 instead of the 1 by 5.5, which was the original cut. The two plaid scenic strips, I decided I wanted them to go on the inside of the card. So you'll see what I mean in just a minute. One more thing as I'm finishing up this assembly, I don't know that I pointed this out earlier, but all the pattern paper that I'm using here are scraps from this kit and other paper pumpkin kits. Now I knew I needed a happy birthday card, so I grabbed my sentiment strip die cut and I cut out some black pieces so that I can add the happy birthday sentiment that I already have in my stash to the top of that black piece. Just once again, bringing that black piece in. That will be hidden though, because of our focal point. So I also grabbed some basic white cardstock. And I'm going to use that as the back piece to this card. And that will be cut at 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. And we'll add it to the back along with that little green strip to the side to make that width equal 4 inches. So the total with the white cardstock and that green strip is actually 4 by 5 1/4. And that will be where we'll write our message. Now I arranged all of the die cuts and the scenic piece onto the black piece of cardstock. And we're going to put those in the middle. And then the last thing I want to do is add a beach chair. Oh my goodness. I just realized I forgot to mention the die cuts I cut out from Relaxing Waterside Dies. Now, I will grab those and show them here in just a minute, but I just forgot to add that earlier in here. So now once I've added those pieces together, we'll add that black piece to the top of that diagonal front piece, remembering to place the glue just at the bottom so we don't glue it together. And there you have it. Card number 1 is finished, a fun fold, and it looks peaceful. And it's an easy fun fold, but it has a big impact. Now let's start looking into card number 2. We're going to be creating a vertical standing card. We'll have a narrow center panel, but then we'll have 2 pieces to the right that will actually be cut out, but they'll actually be glued down so that our vertical card will stand up nicely, but it adds a little bit of variations in color for us. Now, I especially love using that, I'm going to say it wrong, Adirondack chair on this design because I think it just shows how cozy this card is going to be. I think it's perfect for display. It's simple and elegant. So the first thing I will do is I will create my vertical card base and I will score that vertical card base at 5.5. Then I will take the cardstock, in this case I'm using basic white, and I will rotate it and I will cut it at 4 1/4, and that makes our vertical standing card. And in this case, I have 2 of them. You never know, you might need that second one. Now to make the cuts to this card on the front panel, we need cuts of 1 inch from each side, which will leave the center panel to be 2 1/4 by 5.5. Now, here's how I do these cuts. I place the card at the top of the paper trimmer, and I'll use the 1-inch mark on the right side of the trimmer. I'll place my blade at the bottom, and then I'll cut from the bottom up to the 5.5 score line. This is now my first cut on the front panel of this card. Then instead of moving my blade, I'll flip that card base over and place that front panel up at the top. But I'll use the other side of my trimmer now as my guide to find the 1-inch mark. I'll place it there, and then because my blade is already at the 5.25-inch score line, I'll just cut up. I find this easier than moving my blade around. For me, it just keeps me from cutting past that 5.5-inch score line. So take a look. Now we can start assembling the pieces onto the card. Before we do that, I will fidget and fidget a bit because I'm designing as I go here. Then we'll go ahead and grab more of that black cardstock. I always have 1-inch scraps on hand, so I'll place those 1-inch black cardstock pieces onto those side cuts. Then we'll glue those side pieces down. That makes that center piece stand out, which again is 2.25 by 5.5. Well, if you remember, we discussed cutting down those green plaid pieces from the original card base. Well, this is where we'll do that. I cut that plaid piece down to 2 inches. I grabbed more of my scrap pieces of old olive and I placed them on the back side of the plaid piece. Now, you'll only see a smidgen of the old olive, but it is there. I don't know about you, but does anyone else use these words? I feel like I'm the only ones. Anyway, then all we have left is to add it to the front, this plaid piece, and then decide what we want to do about our chair die cut and sentiment. Well, I kind of wanted a handle or something to grab onto so that you will know immediately how to open this card. So I grabbed more leftover scraps. Originally, I thought I'd use an embossing folder called Birchwood. I got it ready and then I decided I'm going to use that on my 3rd and 4th card. Whoops, a little hint as to what's coming. Anyway, now I'll grab another happy birthday for my sentiment binder and place this handle, we'll call it, which is just a sentiment strip on the front. Now for the chair, again, using scraps, I die cut it out a piece of scratch paper that I had on hand. And this may have been one of my coffee papers that I created many moons ago. And I have that in one of my Frugal Friday videos. And I'll put that, there's a playlist up there, and I'll add that playlist up here for you. So I go back and forth for a while, and I'll skip through some of that because this would be forever long, this video. So I will say this, I will grab some dimensionals, and I did pop up the chair a bit to make it stand out a little more on that front centerpiece or center panel. Now, I did not have the stamp set to go along with these dies, but guess what? I finally got a chance to order them. So I will add one of those books or even a bird on the front seat of that chair. Still thinking through that, but here's where we finally ended up on this for now. I really like how it turned out. For my 3rd card, I took the inspiration from the accordion fun fold that we created and just created a variation of it. I'm not sure if this type of fun fold has ever been created before. If you know of one, let me know where you might have seen it, and I'll give that creator a shout out. But we'll walk through this quickly because I'm saving the final reveal for an upcoming Lakeside Retreat showcase video. Now, here are the parts and the pieces of this card. I'll speed through some of it as we've gone over some of this previously in this video. The card base is the fun fold that we created in card number 1, but I added another score line, which I then folded back. The die cuts are for the focal point from the One Sheet Wonder scenic cuts that we made, which are 3 by 3 and 3 by 2.5. For card 3, I used some of the birch wood paper that I created and showed earlier as one of the inside pieces. For our focal point, I added a piece of the 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 black cardstock to put behind the scenic piece, and the bike from the kit to make it stand out. For card number 4, I will add some birds to the front, I believe. Again, I'll add the 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 black cardstock behind the scenic piece. But this time I think I'll add back in some stamping, and I'll do the birds, and then I believe I'm probably going to add a scrap item for my stash that has been lingering for a while, and it says smile, and I think I'll put that on the front of this card to make it just a little bit different. So here are all 3 projects together. What I love most is that every card started from the exact same card base with a few cuts, a few folds, and some additional creative decision making. We created 3 somewhat different designs. I'd love to know which card is your favorite. Are you drawn to the accordion fold, the vertical standing card, or are you patiently waiting to see the final cards for 3 and 4? Leave a comment below and let me know. Thank you again for crafting with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and it gave you some ideas and inspiration. And if so, if you could like, subscribe, comment, and share, I would really appreciate it. So stay tuned, more videos to come. But if coming soon plans I wanted to share, I've got a couple of scrapbook workshop kits that I'll be putting together coming in the next few weeks. So until next time, have a great day.